How about if we have Jerad Farley and Kristen Huggins come up and share with us a little bit, and introduce yourselves and what you do, and let us hear your story.
All right. Going first.
Yeah.
Decide if,
Congratulations.
So I'm going to let Jerad, we're a node, so he is a principal, and I'm a researcher at Washington State University and associate professor of educational leadership. And we ran out, but on your table are 2 of his slides, and he's going to walk you through his problem of practice, his fishbone diagram, and the data he collected to kind of uncover where is the problem, and how do I go about addressing this problem. And so he's going to take it away.
Awesome. Well, I was told that I only have to talk for 7 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep it to that. So, but you may notice on the slide there, so yeah, I'm in the doctoral program at Washington State University, and you might be thinking, promoting reflective practice at Rocky Heights, since you're the principal of Sunset, why are you doing that? So last year I was the principal at Rocky Heights. I was the principal there for several years, 4 years, and then I was given the opportunity to move to a new building and try to do the work, replicate the work there. So pretty exciting stuff. So yeah, I'm a building principal in rural Eastern Oregon. Anyone ever been to Eastern Oregon? Awesome. So you guys know, because whenever, it's just like Washington. Whenever you say, like, you ever been to Washington? People always think, oh, it's rains, it's Seattle, or same with Oregon. They always think of Portland, but in the eastern part, it's a desert, right? And it's beautiful. It has its own beauty. But yeah, so I'm in Eastern Oregon, and so let's see if this works. There we go. So when I first started at Rocky Heights, I really had this. I wanted to cast this vision with my leadership team of where we wanted to go. And in the initial stages, we talked about, okay, what is our focus going to be? Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And although it's not cited there, a lot of that's aligned with Dr. Elmore's work out of Harvard with his instructional core. And so you might notice, for those of you who are familiar with that, year 1 was all about content. We said we really got to align our content. We got to make sure what we're putting in front of kids is high quality. But whenever you up the rigor, then you have to up the level of instruction. So years 2 and 3, we really worked on, as a staff, developing what we believed good instruction was. So we worked on our instructional framework, and we said, okay, what do we all believe should happen every single day in every single classroom for our kids? And so we developed that framework, and then year 3 was all about implementing the framework. And then year 3, we also then added that layer, because whenever you have better content and better instruction, you also have to have kids who are engaging with that instruction. And so year 3, we really started talking about what is it going to take to make sure our students engage with what we're teaching them. Well, once we put all that in place, we saw significant spikes in our data, which, when you're doing that kind of work, it will happen. But I really started feeling like we plateaued, right? And what's it going to take to get to the next level? And so the more and more I thought about it, the more and more research I started doing, I said, really what we got to do is get better at what we're doing. We don't need something else. We got to get better at what we're already doing. And how do I get the teachers who are just kind of here to here, right? Because, in any schools, you have pockets of excellence. How do I get everyone up there? And so I got turned on to this idea of reflective practice. And so towards the end of year 3 and moving into year 4, that was our focus as a building. And then year 5, had I been able to stay at Rocky Heights, that's what year 5 would have been all about. And so initially when I put this reflective practice stuff and started doing some training, I found that staff was really unwilling to participate. And this was a first for me, because for the most part, the first 3 years with this staff, they were really on board with just about everything we did. It was very collaborative, but all of a sudden I hit a wall with reflective practice. And so between August 2017 and November 2018, of my 27 teachers, that I had more staff than the 27, but of the classroom teachers, only 10 of them had actually gone through a reflective practice cycle. So then I was a bit worrisome for me, because we've gone over a year, and only 10 teachers have actually done this, and I've done several trainings. And so then in the first part of 2018, I did some stakeholder interviews. So I interviewed the assistant superintendent and my building instructional coach to try to understand what's going on. Why are people not engaging in this? And so based on that, on my own reflections of those interviews, I thought, well, people aren't bought in. They don't understand why reflective practice is the next best thing, right? Why they really need to do this. And so I just got to keep convincing them, like, you've got to do this, and here's why. And I thought, well, maybe it's time. Maybe they know we're all busy. Maybe they don't have enough time. So that was the initial lens I pursued through. So I hosted 3 more staff meetings on why reflective practice is amazing. So I brought out Dewey, and we all talked about Dewey. And I brought out, I rolled out the carpet for why reflective practice is amazing. They weren't buying it. And then I even gave them after school time. I said, hey, I'll pay you after school. If you don't have the time during the day to do this, I'll pay you to come in and you could do this after school, and you just turn this in and I'll pay you. They still didn't do it. So between October so I implemented that in the beginning of October, and between October and the end of November, guess how many more people participated?
0.
0. And really it was because I wasn't getting at the root cause. As I'm sure you guys probably figured out, that's where I was going with this. So from there then, I already talked about this a little bit, the initial issues I assumed it was buy-in and time. So I continued to try to convince them it wasn't working, and so then I did some leadership focus groups and stakeholder interviews. So I interviewed 4 teachers, 2 who had gone through the reflective practice cycle, and 2 who had pretty much told me I ain't doing this. And then I did a leadership focus group where I did a survey, and then as a leadership team, we debriefed it. And here's what came out of that. Here's my fishbone. And I probably could have done this fishbone in late September, early October, before I really found out the root cause. And all of these were root causes, but what I'd never considered is that, and I don't know if this will be crazy to say, but almost a hierarchy of root causes. What really is the main one? All of those are certainly barriers and issues, but what's the main thing? What's keeping people from really hooking into this? And so then from that, and that's the sheet you have. You have my fishbone there, and then on the back you have my data collection plan. And so again, that's how I was going to collect data on all those root causes. But after doing the stakeholder, the focus group, and then interviewing those 4 teachers, the 2 who had, 2 who hadn't, I found out that it really wasn't about time, and it really wasn't about buy-in. It was about fear, right? And then it took me a while I had to dive in 2 or 3 different times to the data that I got back to figure out, yes, it's fear, but really even behind that fear, it's a lack of training on how to reflect. And so in the absence of knowing how to reflect, fears come up. And that makes sense, right? That's logical. Like when you don't know how to do something, you tend to be afraid of it, right? And so out of that, because folks didn't really know how to reflect, all these fears came out of that, like, well, are the teachers going to see this, right? Who's going to see my video? Oh, is Jerad going to watch it and then use that for my evaluation? Oh goodness. And then, but I would say, even though of these 3, this one right here, what people were most afraid of wasn't any of those other root causes. What it all came down was, because I don't know how to reflect, when I watch the video of myself teaching, because I forgot to mention that, we were doing this through video. When I watch the video of myself teaching, I don't want to be confronted with the reality of my teaching. I want to preserve the idealized version of who I am as a teacher. That's what it came down to, but it took several iterations of analyzing the data to get to that. And so in the absence of knowing how to reflect, they really just focus on those negative aspects of their teaching. So what we did, and this was done in conjunction with my leadership team, once we finally figured out, or I finally figured out the root cause, the root of the root, for lack of a better phrase, is I provided training on how to reflect. That was our main focus of our next several staff meetings. And then I provided coach support. So I facilitated having the coach there to be there to help them go through cycles of reflection. So they're not doing it alone. They're not, kind of kicked out into the cold and say, okay, figure out what you need to do better as a teacher. We did a reflective practice fishbowl. I took a teacher who had been willing to do this, and we did it in front of the whole staff. So the whole staff could see what that looks like, and it's not scary. We added the option for team and reflection, and I would tell you this is really when we started taking off, is people were scared to reflect on their own. And it might sound a little counterintuitive. They were much more willing to do it if they could do it with each other, with their team. And so once we added that option, and we taught staff how to do that together, how to reflect with their team, then it really started taking off. And so we took staff through those coaching sessions with team reflections. And then because I always tell my staff, I'll never do anything. I'm never going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't be willing to do myself. So I happened to be teaching in a classroom one day, and I said, I'm going to video myself, and I'm going to do a reflection, and I'm going to send it to the whole staff, so they know that I'm in it with you. So once we did all that, once I got to that fear, because of lack of knowledge, you can see before the root cause analysis and the action plan, between February and November, I had 10 of 27 teachers participate. And of those 10, 8 were on leadership. So they felt like they had to, right? Well, we better do this, you know. And then between October and November of that following year, 0. And only 3 of those 10 had ever done it more than once. After implementing the action plan from the root cause analysis, between December 2018 and May of 2019, so here we're talking over a year, here we're only talking a few months. 23 of my 27 teachers did it. 11 of them did more than once. And many of the teachers, what was interesting, 12 of those 23 teachers, their first try into reflective practice was through a team reflective practice coaching session. And then of those 12, 7 of those people who participated more than once, 7 of the 11, they started with doing it with their team, and then they were willing to do it on their own. Now, had I been able to stay at Rocky this year, I really believe we would have seen this take off, because this is where we were in the May. But now I get to try to replicate this in another building. And so, long story short, through the NIC, none of this would have happened. Now, it's a little bit disingenuous to say that I didn't benefit from being in the doctoral program at the same time, and learning about root cause analysis and fish bones and all that, because that's where a lot of this came from. But it was just so wonderful to be a part of the NIC and share some of this work with them, and hear and Dr. Huggins and I, and I know this really isn't specific to my presentation, but what I'll say is it's been really wonderful to work with Dr. Huggins, to find someone who thinks rural, and understands that context, and